All right, this is Lab 13 for the Azure Monitor. Now, in this lab, we'll deploy virtual machine on the Azure platform, create a log analytic workspace, connect the VM to submit event logs to this log analytic workspace, and capture performance counters into the log analytics. And we're going to try to query the data warehouse that's built by the log analytics. Now we're going to turn up PowerShell, create a resource group in the East US region. We're going to use the PowerShell commandlet to quickly deploy a brand new virtual machine. Now this creation will take roughly about 3 minutes. We'll fast forward that. While this log analytics, while this VM is being created, I want to take some time to go over that log analytics workspace serves as a repository for logs, performance metrics. Okay, when data is sent to this log analytic workspace, a data warehouse is built on top of that, and a special language called custom query language can be used to query and make sense of the data that's stored. Now, because log analytics is native to Azure, when you deploy an Azure VM, we can simply connect the VMs on the Azure platform to the log analytics. Additionally, if we have virtual machine running outside of the Azure environment, if we have VMs in Amazon on-prem, we can install the Microsoft monitoring agent, and then wherever the machines lives, it can always be sent to the workspace. It's a REST ingestion point. All right, looks like the VM is completed. We're going to create a resource for log analytics workspace. Now keep in mind the log analytics can be created in any region. VMs from any resource group, any subscriptions, even machines that are running on-prem, will have no problem sending the data to it because it's a internet accessible endpoint. As long as you know the workspace ID, as long as you know the workspace key, anyone from anywhere, IoT device, full-fledged physical boxes, even desktops can all send the data to the workspace. All right, so we're going to navigate to the log analytic workspace. Typically, the first thing that happens is that we will connect data sources to the log analytic workspace. So as you scroll down, you'll find workspace data sources. All right. So because the machine we want to monitor is an Azure virtual machine, okay, just select that. All right, so after I created log analytics workspace, I had to wait about 5 minutes for this virtual machine to show up on the screen. I don't know if it's a temporary UI bug or just my browser or something. For me, it took 5 minutes for this VM to show up. Now, this is not the only user interface that you can connect a virtual machine. You can do right here, click on that, and then just connect it right here. Now, if this UI is not showing your virtual machine, feel free to click on virtual machine, select my VM, and down in the virtual machine monitoring, you'll find a menu item called logs. This will achieve the same results, connecting this virtual machine to the log analytic workspace. All right, so select enable. This will be connecting this machine to the workspace that we created earlier. So there's that. So in about a few minutes, this machine will start sending logs and metrics to the workspace. Now, in the meanwhile, in this workspace, you will find a section called Agent Management. In the Agent Management, you can download Windows Agent and install it anywhere Windows runs. The two pieces of data you need to provide is a workspace ID that identifies this workspace, and one of these two keys. And these keys are necessary to sign the data you want to send into the workspace. Now, if you have Linux servers you want to monitor, here's your Linux server, and there's also the same thing. You need to supply workspace ID and one of the keys for them to submit the data into workspace. Alright, so once we have these machines under management, we can go ahead and customize what type of information we would like to receive. Alright, we're going to select data. So here's where we can specify what information we would like to collect. We're going to select system log. And at what level of the log entries. Right. We can also collect Windows Performance Counter. And we're going to just add the suggested performance counter. So the data has a 10-second collection interval. Alright, don't forget to click save to save all the changes. Alright, so there's acknowledgement, configuration was successfully saved. So when the agent receives these directives, it will start sending the data into the log analytics. Now back to the workspace. There is a user interface where you can issue ad hoc queries. There's also a workbook which you can save some of the commonly used queries. Alright, so for example, you can use this pre-built workbook that contains the query. Alright, so because we just recently deployed the agent, we don't have any data at the moment. Okay, Log Analytics is not a real-time solution. Event Hub is. So anytime the data that makes into the Log Analytic workspace, be prepared that there will be some leading time to populate the data warehouse, ingest it. This is a massive system. So it's designed to give you trend and analytic capability to the logs. Okay, so they are not really a real-time response system. If you need something to respond in real time, you may want to consider build something with Event Hub. Okay, so that is your real-time solution. So for the time being, I'll pause it until we get the data in. Okay, so you can click on the logs, and you can review the raw logs that has been received. So this interface is where you would execute queries, and there are tons and tons of examples. All right. And perhaps we have a virtual machine, sample queries. So select virtual machines. You can say track availabilities, available memory, free disk space. Alright, so I'm going to run failed login to see if there has been any failed logins. Alright. So at the moment there has been no security event collected. So to find out what data is available to you, switch over to tables. Now this will show you all the tables that's available in the workspace. All right. So when you navigate to the table log storage, you can do a quick preview data. Okay. So it looks like we do have some data here. Okay. Now one thing you'll notice that this is slightly different from the traditional log where everything is two-dimensional columns and rows. These can have nested information, for example, DNS names. They can have child nested property. So unfortunately, this doesn't have any security event. So I'm going to try a different one. All right. So I'm going to say what is the available memory. Okay. Again, still no result found. Okay. So this is querying the performance counter and the time limit. Okay, so it's looking for data was generated an hour ago. Since the last hour, not an hour ago. Greater. Time's always increasing, so time generated is greater than an hour ago. We're looking for the metric for memory. Okay. All right, and counter name equal available megabytes, or okay, there's that. All right, so let's take a look and see if we have any data in the perf just yet. All right, so it hasn't been received yet. So while this works, there's a looks like there is some data. Interesting. I thought I just previewed it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Just in time. Okay. So now we can collect these metrics. We can concentrate them all in one place. Okay. We can write very powerful queries. Against all these services. And you'll notice, because you probably notice this huge list. That is because Microsoft's platform as service all use log analytics as their default log storage. Yeah, because remember, these platform as service runs on machines. They run on machines that we don't control and we don't maintain. But we need logs. We need to know what happened with these services. So just about universally, if you have any service, okay, whether it's a logic app, function app, web app, okay, chances are there is a diagnostic settings where you can point their logs into this workspace. All right, for example, key vaults. All right, so if you have that service, you can connect to log analytics, and this can help you make sense of it. All right, so that concludes this log analytics exercise. Now, it's important to remember for this lab 13, do not delete the resource you create. We're going to use it immediately in lab number 14. Number 15, the Azure Sentinel. So please keep this 13 resource around for a while, the VM and the data. We're just going to leave there.